Hey guys, it's RodimusPrimal. I am back with another video, and today we are going to take a look at Hasbro's reveal for Age of the Prime Bruticus. We also get to take a look at Studio Series A-level Orion packs and Devastation Bumblebee. And on top of that, we also get a quick look at the new specials for Transformers Earthspark. Of course, I got a lot to talk about, so sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's transform and roll out. Consider supporting the channel on Patreon, becoming a channel member, or purchase some merch. Links are in the description below. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk to you guys today about is something that I covered in my live stream earlier this week, and that is Transformers Earthspark is serving up its finale in two specials. If you watch Transformers Cyberverse, they did it the same way, where they had, the first 3 seasons had aired, and they were basically like in little pieces and little chunks, and then they aired a 4th and final season in 2 specials, but it was a YouTube show. But Transformers Earthspark is a Paramount Plus exclusive. You can see Liege Maximo is the villain, and you have Mirage here as well. Liege Maximo is one of the 13 original Transformers, and so him returning as a villain. I believe this is the first time he's ever been in animation. The other special, Hometown Heroes, has Hot Rod return, and from my understanding, from what we've seen, he comes in with a bunch of Decepticons. We're not certain if he's going to be a hero, if he's going to be a villain, if he's going to be brainwashed or what have you. But, Hot Rod's coming back, so I am going to check it out to see if it's any good. But, if you are a fan of the show, this is how they're trying to give the show its proper send-off. I also talked about these 2 figures through my live stream as well, but we had not gotten a full reveal of them. They are Studio Series A-level Transformers 1 Orion packs, and that figure looks very, very good. And we have a look at Transformers Devastation Bumblebee. He also looks very good for a Transformers Devastation Bumblebee, though I gotta say, just looking at this Bumblebee figure, I'm wondering if this is going to be the mold that they are going to use for some of the Throttlebots. The Throttlebots we have waited for a long time for them to get new toys. Characters like Freeway and Chase and, Searchlight. Those are characters I actually did a retrospective on because their leader is Bumblebee himself after he was upgraded as Goldbug. So who knows? This figure might get a recolor as Goldbug as well, and I actually wouldn't mind getting this particular figure as Goldbug myself, but I'm perfectly fine with Studio Series 86 Bumblebee, which I do have on my desk here in vehicle mode, messing around with him, and I'm like, I kind of like this, like, Korokyu or Chorokyu, figure, whereas, like, this is really good as a throwback for Transformers Classics. But either way, I think it's awesome that they are, going a little bit extra for Bumblebee because, well, he's a character that everybody loves, and that's kind of something you have to take into consideration, even if you're not the biggest Bumblebee fan, right? You got to understand that he is a very important character to the franchise, and so they're always going to be trying to make new toys of him, for their A-level, thing, because he sells a lot of merch. It's just basically the same reason why we get a lot of Optimus Primes and Megatrons all the time. They are toys that sell all the time, and they make both Hasbro and Takara money. And that's just the bottom line. That's the reason why we're able to get, figures of characters that you may want to see. Recently I actually took a chance to walk through Walmart, and I noticed that a lot of the Transformers Armada figures, like, Red Alert and Sideways and Excellion, like, there's a lot of them. I don't know if they're just shelf warming, or it's just that people aren't aware of those characters because maybe they haven't seen the series. But you make a Bumblebee toy and it sells. So we'll see. We'll see how well these figures turn out. And speaking of Armada characters, we might as well bring up one that I think is really cool that they're doing a throwback to, and that's Age of the Prime's Armada Sideways. Now, I'm of the opinion that Noisemaze, the Transformers Cybertron character, and the Armada character are two separate characters who both happen to be named Sideways in, the American, fiction, whereas it's Doubleface and Noisemaze in Japan. I'm of the opinion that they are separate characters. I know that the TF Wiki actually did something in order to try and make you believe that this character is a universal singularity, which I think that was a misnomer out of this particular character. I just think that was something that was pushed. But let's actually take a look at the figure itself, because in robot mode, he does look very, very good. He comes with his two mini-cons that do transform into the rider for him when he is in motorcycle mode. So he can, have that whole rider and motorcycle mode like he had in his original toy. And the toy does something different where the legs themselves detach, I think, in order for the heads to be able to attach to this. People were asking whether or not this figure had the ability to do the whole headmaster gimmick, or its double headmaster gimmick, really. And yes, it can. You can fold the head in, and these two small little mini-cons can transform into an additional head. And he also has the switching gimmick, where he has a Decepticon symbol or an Autobot symbol based upon, you just have to flip it. You don't have to actually utilize the gimmick. So, and I think it's kind of neat. Personally speaking, again, I think I like the Noisemaze character a little bit more. He was a lot more fun. And the reason why I'm using the Japanese name is just to differentiate between them, because Noisemaze had a personality, I would even say as far as Cybertron Sideways, that was kind of like, and his name is Noisemaze makes sense too, because he was friends with Soundwave. So Soundwave, Noisemaze, it kind of goes hand in hand, whereas calling him Sideways is a little weird, but that's just my personal opinion. And whereas this character, I like the name Sideways better, and, he was a minion of Unicron, or he was a, what's the word I would say? He was a herald of Unicron that had gotten taken over by these two mini-cons that had possessed him. At least that's my theory on the character. So, but I think it's kind of neat that they are actually doing this to try to complete the Armada characters. I just wish that Demolisher was coming soon, but we'll see. And the next reveal is for Age of the Prime's Onslaught. And this is where we also get our first look at Swindle too. So this is going to be the Commander class figure for 2026 for Age of the Primes, whereas this here was Silver Bolt in order to actually build your Superion. I actually really, really dig this Superion figure. A lot more in hand than a lot of the stock images gave it credit for. And I think that's going to be the same case for this Bruticus. A lot of people are going to look at this Bruticus and go, oh, the stock images show weird proportions, and I'm not sure if I like it, and I wish that they were able to do the whole ruination thing. And I've seen a lot of that. I've seen a lot of those posts. But personally speaking, he looks awesome. This is what's really cool about this, is that the original toy for Onslaught, you can actually take the back section of his truck mode and make this whole gun turret with a ramp kind of thing. And they've basically done that with this toy. So Onslaught himself actually had this functionality, except it had a ramp that a vehicle can drive off of. But having the cannon like this is also neat too. So, and the vehicle mode looks great too. The full size truck that he's carrying. It's like we're getting this accurate vehicle. And Onslaught is a character that his alternate mode plays really well into this style of combiner, because he's carrying a little trailer there. And the smaller portion is his robot mode, and the rest of the bits are what transform into Bruticus. Now they show here this stock image of Bruticus without any of the limbs attached, so you can see how the whole thing transforms. And yeah, they are literally doing that, where Brawl can roll off here, and Brawl and Swindle can attach as legs, and then you can have Onslaught and Vortex and Blast Off. I have Vortex, and I'm really looking forward to Brawl and Blast Off coming soon. And now we get to see what, Bruticus looks like as a whole. The Combaticons and the Aerial Bots are two combiner teams that definitely need videos for, me to do retrospectives on in the future. And I would probably say Devastator too. I definitely have plans for a lot of retrospectives in the future, and this is definitely a character who's going to get that treatment. But we also get to take a look at Swindle. When these figures for Onslaught were revealed, everyone was wondering, like, when we're actually going to take a good look at Swindle, and this figure rocks. I gotta say, I love it. I love how they were able to incorporate all of him in alternate mode and in robot mode to give us this version of Swindle, and I think he just looks awesome. I really, really do. I think he looks great. One thing you'll take note of is he's got his arm cannon here, and he's got a little blaster as well. And he's got this big shoulder cannon. So you're wondering, what is the purpose of the shoulder cannon? It's actually supposed to be Bruticus's gun. So in order to complete your Bruticus, you're going to have to get Swindle, and Swindle will come with the blaster for Bruticus. And his robot mode is like the animation model, which is why the windshield is there as part of his chest, as well as the Jeep portion there for his waist, because that was the way that the animation model worked. And it's kind of doing a little bit of cheating, and that's perfectly fine. But take a look at this. So he's got this little, that actual shoulder cannon that turns into Bruticus's gun also turns into a little cart for him to carry. And so you can have the blaster for him in Jeep mode, but if you don't know why, he has this little trailer thing that, that he's carrying, well, he sold the rest of the Combaticons' parts for money. That's why he's called Swindle. And they actually incorporated the little, trailer thing that he used to carry all the Combaticons' parts in that episode BOT, which is a ridiculous episode, but it's so funny that, and I think it's so fun that they actually decided to incorporate that into the figure. It's just so cool. I think it's fun. Really awesome. And taking a look at the full color render of Bruticus combined, now we get to see he looks great. And I know a lot of people prefer, the alt mode, the vehicles to be on the front, and Bruticus actually does that, and I think that was very smart of them to do it that way, because the aerial bots, I prefer the jet parts here in the back for a couple of different reasons. He flies, so that's a good reason for me to look at that as far as a reason for Superion. But Bruticus, how they incorporated his vehicle parts into that combiner is awesome. The only drawback is when they recolor him, which they will, and they color him as Ruination, doing a more cartoon accurate take and colors, you won't be able to do the crossing over and actually making the Robots in Disguise, car robots equivalent of Blast Off and Vortex into legs. You won't have that play feature. But that's a small price to pay in order to get, a really good figure of them, unless you go for the Combiner Wars. I like this particular, set as a whole. They've done a great job. I think it looks awesome. And I can't wait to get the next Combiner on the list, because they've knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. But I don't know what you guys think about this Transformers news. Are you excited for Age of the Prime's Bruticus or Sideways? Are you looking forward to getting any of the Studio Series A-level with Orion Pax or Bumblebee? And what do you think of Transformers Earthspark's conclusion? Of course, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Be sure to thumbs up this video and subscribe. Check out my other videos as well. I have many more Transformers videos like this coming soon, so stay tuned for all of that. And as always, guys, until next time, till all are one.